Hey guys, Arcane Restorations, and we are back on part 9 of the 1996 GL1500 GoldWing Special Edition restoration. Whew. It gets longer and longer every time I say it. How about we go for a test drive finally? It's only been 9 episodes, but let's go for a test drive. Whenever I'm doing this test drive, I have my helmet open, just so that I can, hear, listen, make sure everything sounds right, etc. But so far this test drive is going good right now. And it was at this moment that I found out that my linked brake system was not working. The brake pedal that normally controls the rear brake on this one controls the front left brake and the rear brake, the pedal by your right foot, and it wasn't working. Normally I don't use the brake pedal on motorcycles when I drive. I just use the front brake, and then I use downshifting, also known as engine braking, to control my speed. But you do gotta have it in case of like an emergency. So I pull over in the ditch here and I decide I'm going home since I don't have my linked brake system working. So just letting you know, that's why I turned around and decided to cut this test drive short, because my brakes were not working properly. Do that real quick. There we go. Got a good throttle response right there. Drops down to 750. I think that's good. We learned a few helpful things during our test drive. One thing we found is that the petcock is leaking. Yes, I know it has another fuel leak. As you can see right here, and I'll get a flashlight and show you, but there is some dirt around the gas cap in that little holder right there, and as you can see, it's wet. And I had gas coming out of the drain tube from right there. So I do got to order a petcock rebuild kit, which they're not too expensive, and you should be able to take it off without fully disassembling the motorcycle. And we also learned that the rear brakes don't work, and the front brake that is linked to the brake pedal doesn't work either. There's just no pressure whatsoever right there. That's something that you should check before a test drive. And I'll admit, it should have been done. I should have checked it. I have checked the reservoir back there, and it does have brake fluid in it. So that means either there's a lot of air in the line, or that the master cylinder is not creating any pressure. So we're going to have to diagnose that, and we're going to have to fix it. At this point, I'm just going to name this stupid bike Murphy. Murphy's Law. This, ugh. Anything that can go wrong will go wrong. So, but yes, that's what's playing next. This video, we're just going to go ahead and fix the fuel leak, which is that petcock. So we're just going to go ahead and replace the internals of that, which include a rubber diaphragm. But just talking about it ain't going to fix it. So let's go ahead and let's get to it. So about 6 days have elapsed. We got the rubber diaphragm in. Now let's let this throw it in there. Hopefully we should just be able to remove the seat and then the radio cover plastic cowl, which has the radio attached to it right here. And that's all that we should have to remove to change the petcock. It looks like a lot of stuff is taken off, but very few things. So that's the petcock right there. I would like to apologize for the shaky camera right here, but if you take the gas cap off and the plastic radio cowl, you can actually disassemble this without removing the petcock. So all you got to do is get a screwdriver in, get those 4 screws out, and it has enough play that you're able to get a screwdriver in there. So I'm just going to disconnect the fuel lines, which in reality, you don't have to even disconnect the fuel line. You can undo those 4 screws and you can actually get to it. So, pretty easy. And this is how it comes. If I'll ever show it. I promise I'm trying to be better at recording. So there it is. On one side you have the smaller rubber diaphragm, and then on the other you have the larger one with an orange cap on it, and the spring sits like that on the orange cap. So that's the rubber piece that replaces. I believe this one had a hole in it. I don't know if I showed on camera, but I did inspect it, and I believe I did see a hole in it. But I'm just showing for the camera how it sits. With the spring in there, of course. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to just pull these rubber pieces off and replace them. I just take the orange cap off, and then I just pull the whole thing through the bottom. The big side collapses pretty easy. And just give it a nice little tug. And whenever I install it the same way. I kind of fold the bigger piece up and then put it in that hole. I didn't rip them apart or anything. There's that little metal piece that comes with a little hole. And these just have a little rubber piece that sticks out that goes inside the hole. I was having a pretty difficult time with the rubber, so what I did is I licked it. That sounds pretty primitive. But licking it just gives the rubber a little bit of lubrication. Enough to just seat inside the metal piece. I was doing just one at a time just to make sure I got it right. But again, just a dab of spit, which actually really just helps this because it's rubber on metal and it's grabbing. So here we're just going to fold it up and reinsert it into the part, in exact reverse of the disassembly. With new pieces, you sometimes might have some difficulty getting them to stay in the same place when you're installing, so you can just use a dab of like a silicone grease, or I usually use dielectric grease, but I'm saying just a small piece on the metal and it'll help keep the rubber sticking. You don't want to do too much or go excessive because again, this is a vacuum petcock, and so it operates with vacuum pressure, so you don't want to completely seal it with grease. But just a dab of grease really helps keep it in place. But this was a new piece, so I didn't have too much difficulty. Now for the install. Again, it's just going to be a reverse of the disassembly. This is what I'm talking about right here, how it's sliding and stuff like that. If you keep having this problem, just a dab of silicone grease. You don't want to use like an RTV sealant or any type of adhesive, because if you ever disassemble it, it could rip the diaphragm. Just a little piece of grease is good enough. Actually works really well on carburetor float bowl gaskets. So that's how you rebuild the petcock. Like I said, very easy. This isn't a long job. You can do this in an hour. The longest part of this is waiting for the piece to come in. But we got that seated right there. Be sure not to strip these screws. The kit I got does come with new screws, which is awesome because sometimes you might strip out the screws or damage them during this, but just try your best. JIS screwdrivers will really help, Japanese Industrial Standard. we're just going to get it lined up right here. I'm going to put one screw in, just to keep everything in place. And then we're going to go to the others. And again, you don't have to remove the fuel line, but it does give you a little more wiggle room to get a screwdriver in there. A little better now. Just making sure it start. Now we're going to take it outside to start it. You know, we don't want carbon monoxide poisoning. Got the Harley two-step right now. There we go, we're finally getting some fuel built up. It is idling great now, and there are no leaks. We were able to successfully fix the petcock leaking problem. The rebuild kit worked great, and we're not having active fuel leak out of it anymore. So, both good things. If you still remember, on the last test drive we learned that we did not have brakes, the rear brake and the front left brake, because the brake pedal controls a linked brake system. So that is going to have to be fixed in next episode. And maybe the bike will stop leaking and we'll just be able to ride the thing. So, again, thanks for watching. This is Octane Restorations. If you enjoyed the video, consider liking and subscribing. It really does help. And thank you for your support. I hope you have a good rest of your day.